Welcome back, Sebastian here. So a bit of a delayed Miami Grand Prix qualifying review, but here it is. So in Q1, Hulkenberg had a big snap of oversteer going into turn 16, but he managed to keep it out of the wall, so all good for him. After the first runs of Q1, Tsunoda, Norris, Russell, De Vries, and Hamilton were in the bottom five. So both Mercedes in the bottom five in Q1 after the first runs. They had a really tough weekend after topping FP1. Both FP2 and FP3 were a real hurdle for them. The top five after the first runs were the Perez, Leclerc, Verstappen, Alonso, and Magnussen as well, doing a really solid time in the Haas. Then they showed some replays as well afterwards. So Hamilton almost went into the back of Magnussen on long straight into turn 17, and he basically hits the wall to kind of in this really tight gap in between Magnussen and the wall, and it kind of just clips the wall, but didn't look like there was any damage to Hamilton's car. It was investigated after the session, but I've yet to see anything, so it looks like nothing came of that. Zhou was also almost sent into the wall by a Ferrari as well, so a bit dangerous there, and that was noted as well. The bottom five in Q1 were Norris, Tsunoda, Stroll. I don't know how he ended up in the bottom five. Piastri and Sargent were all out in Q1, so not great for Stroll, especially given where his teammate ended up. The top five, just for reference, of course, this isn't important as it's only Q1, were Verstappen, Sainz, Perez, Leclerc, and Magnussen. So really good job there by Magnussen to get into the top five. Q2, not a whole lot of drama in this session. The elimination zone after the first runs were Russell, Hamilton, Zhou, De Vries, and Bottas. So again, both Mercedes really struggling on this track and getting up to speed after the first runs. After the top five were Verstappen, Sainz, Perez, Alonso, and Leclerc. There was a bit of a dangerous release by Haas in front of Alonso, but no harm done. And after Q2, your bottom five were De Vries, Zhou, Hamilton, Hulkenberg, and Albon. So Lewis Hamilton knocked out after Q2, so not great there. They seem to really be struggling to get the setup right for this track. I haven't been following as much because I've been away, so I'm not exactly sure where they're losing out really compared to the front runners, but definitely a big step back compared to the last couple of races, I would say. So they've really been struggling on this track. And your top five after Q2 were Verstappen, Leclerc, Alonso, Sainz, and Perez. Verstappen topping every session since FP2 on Friday. And then we get to Q3. Verstappen basically aborts his first lap. He gets a snap of oversteer going through turns 4 and then also through turns 5, and basically gives up on the lap. Leclerc then gets a lockup in turn 17, but he finishes his lap, but he's 7th fastest after this point. And I wrote down Leclerc and Verstappen both need to set lap times because they're both well behind where they should be. Perez was fastest after the first runs, and at the very start of the second runs, Leclerc crashes the car, basically just gets a snap of oversteer, and then just goes straight onto the runoff area and crashes into the barriers at turn 5 and bringing out the red flag. So I don't know if the runoff surface seemed more slippery than it probably should have been. So I don't know if it's just that the asphalt's brand new and there's not enough rubber, or they're not using any kind of special paint like they use at some tracks like Paul Ricard. Basically, he just kept going, and there was very low speed that he scrubbed off between when he kind of left the track and when he hit the barrier. So maybe that's something that they should look at in the future. But regardless, red flag comes out, and a bit of a silly mistake by Leclerc, and they announced that the session would not be resumed, which I was a bit surprised because there was a minute and a half left, minute 40 left. So of course I think it would be a bit too tight to do a cool down, do an out lap, and then get to the start line to do a fast lap. But it's been a bit tough luck there. So Perez gets pole, Alonso second, and Verstappen doesn't set a time in Q3. Aborts his first lap and then is stuck behind Verstappen, stuck behind Leclerc in the second lap. And I really think he should have gone in the gap in Q3, kind of that time when no one's set a time. He's had so much speed all weekend that, I think it's better just to set a banker lap, especially when your car is so good in the races. So the final classification after Q3 was, let's see, so Perez first with on pole, of course, with a 1:26.841. Alonso is second, Sainz third, Magnussen fourth, fifth Gasly. Sixth was, who was sixth? Yeah, so Russell was sixth, Leclerc seventh, eighth Ocon, ninth Verstappen, 10th Bottas, 11th Albon, 12th Hulkenberg, 13th Hamilton, 14th shows, 15th De Vries, first time out qualifying Tsunoda for De Vries, so that's good for him. 16th Norris, 17th Tsunoda, 18th Stroll, an absolute shocker for him. I'm not really sure what happened there. 19th Piastri and 20th Sargent. So that's all for qualifying for the Miami Grand Prix. Of course, from the time of recording this video, the race will be in about 8 hours, 9 hours time. So it should be a pretty exciting race. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be interesting to see how far up the order Verstappen can get. So that's all for today, and thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.